Hi everybody, Richard Tromans here again, Artificial Lawyer TV. Today we're doing a special product walkthrough with vLex to tell us a bit more about the latest updates to Vincent AI, are Ed and Alex. Ed, in time-honored fashion, I will disappear and let you take it away.
Great. Thanks, Richard. Please feel free to interrupt if you have questions. Alex, please keep me honest. So we are very excited to share with you the winter 2025 release of Vincent from vLex. We have been adding incremental new features, workflows, and benefits, and we're now like sort of grouping them together into seasonal releases. You may remember the autumn 2024 release, a big one. This is the next one, the winter 2025 release. Let me signpost a little bit. So here are the things we're going to talk about today. We're going to talk about the multi-modal release. Vincent now works with audio and video. We're going to talk about the new Vincent in docket alarm features, which go through briefs, pleadings, motions. They find precedents. You can ask open-ended questions across this 860 million document library of pleadings. 3, we're going to showcase this new feature called Build an Argument, which is sort of like describing in narrative form a legal issue and then having Vincent create sort of whatever you want out of it, a client alert, a memo. And then finally, we're launching new jurisdictions in Vincent for 2025, Hong Kong, Italy, Peru, and Ecuador. My mnemonic for that is HYPE, H-I-P-E, but it's Hong Kong, Italy, Peru, and Ecuador. And I think, you have to keep me honest on this, but I think it's the first time there's been like kind of an AI workflow tool for those countries in those languages ever. So that brings the total to 17 different countries inside of Vincent AI. All right, that's my signposting. Let me just show you, first of all, multimodal. So you can now use Vincent AI in a secure environment to process video evidence, interview intake work that's by video. You can process judicial proceedings. If you have audio of a deposition, you can process that inside of Vincent AI. And it's all secure within the secure environment. Instead of like uploading it to the web or something, this is the first release since Vincent has been certified as SOC 2 Type 2 compliant for security, like the strictest security in the market. It's already been ISO 27001 secure certified. But so that means that you can work with audio and video in a secure environment that's locked down for your firm inside of Vincent AI. So here, in this case, what I've called up on the screen is we have pulled in an oral argument from the Ohio Supreme Court, which very helpfully posts these in video on the web. And if you, at the end of an oral argument, wanted to report back to a client and say, here's what we did, here's how the argument went, you can do that now inside of Vincent AI. When I upload it, I get a couple of helpful prompts, like what kinds of things do you want to do? I could also, ask an open-ended question at the bottom, but you can see these ideas like summarize the defense arguments, create a timeline, draft rebuttal points, compare cases. And then at the bottom, you see things that are very specific to this argument. What are the legal precedents regarding First Amendment protections for judges speaking on legal and political issues? That's taken from the video. And when we upload that, we get like a full transcript of the video. And all of these workflows work with that video transcript. And so here I said, create a timeline of what we know about the case just from the video transcript of the oral argument. And you can see Vincent has created this timeline. We can download this as an Excel file or a comma separated values file. And for each one of these timeline elements, you see a citation to the transcript itself. If I hover over it, I get like a excerpt from where that appears in the transcript, but if I click it, it'll actually open the transcript and jump right to the point where it is sourced from and highlighting it. Look, I just want to maybe abstract this for a second. This is really about transparency and about trust. With AI tools, this is really super important. And for many of the workflow tools inside of Vincent AI, there are links to primary sources, to judicial opinions, to statutes, to regulations, to law review articles, to secondary materials and treatises. And they're always hyperlinked. You can click them and open them and verify them. What's important about this is that if there's something that you upload in this Winter 25 release, if you upload a complaint or a transcript or a video file or an audio file, we're creating hyperlinks to that too. It's just as important that you verify those sources if the user uploads them, right? And so now we're going to create hyperlinks that jump right to the point in this video upload and the transcript of it that is the source for this timeline entry. Super important. I think that that ability to validate the sources, whether they are from vLex or whether they're uploaded by users, super, super important. Alex, is there anything I'm missing there that you want to highlight for multimodal?
Not so much with multimodal, but I did want to point out that bolstered referencing system also applies to more conventional document formats like PDFs, Word files, or TXT files. But it's also going to be able to perform against multiple files inside of one upload and also against archives. So if you have, say, a zip archive or even an email, and you want Vincent to analyze not just the email's contents, but also underlying attachments or exhibits, you could have it perform that same function as well.
Awesome. Great point. Okay, number two, I want to talk about the new workflow tools on top of Docket Alarm. I think most people know Docket Alarm, but it is the docket briefs, pleadings, and motions research service inside of vLex. It collects the docket entries, the docket sheets, but also the underlying complaints and answers and motions and briefs inside of those dockets for federal courts, all federal courts, and now for 39 states in the US, the biggest states, the biggest jurisdictions. And so that creates like a giant database of structured data. And in the past, you've been able to use Docket Alarm to do very powerful analytic workflows. These AI tools, Vincent in Docket Alarm or Vita, supplement those analytics for more unstructured questions. And so here I'm asking for a profile of a white collar litigator. And Vincent goes into Docket Alarm and finds all of the matters where this lawyer has appeared, including matters that are still pending, right? There's no analytics set up for this individual lawyer, but we are going through this giant database and using a team of AI tools to pull out this information. And I think this is the most agentic workflow of the Winter 2025 release. So what we end up with on the right-hand side is these are matters where this lawyer appears, and there are highlights of it, the role that she played, the status of the case, the background of what kind of case it is, duration, outcome, complexity. And we do this for a bunch of different matters where this lawyer appears. And for any one of these, if I want to see it with a click, I can open it inside of Docket Alarm, which is super helpful. In the meantime, for many, many cases, I get this very in-depth analysis for this lawyer, and then that is summarized in a report about this lawyer. Here's the kinds of cases that she handles. Here is her effectiveness in motion practice, potential negatives, average case duration, most significant or noteworthy cases. And so this is really different. I mean, this is interesting. You can do this for lawyers, for judges, for parties, for law firms, and really analyze in a fascinating way what they've done in the past. It doesn't really matter where they went to law school. What it matters is what they've done in court, right? And so I'm showing one, but there are scores of different tasks you can do over this docket data with Vincent in docket alarm workflow tools, including some really cool new ones in this release. Alex, I'm monologuing. Is there anything I'm missing here that you would want to add?
Yeah, Ed is currently showing the profile and attorney workflow, but we also have similar profile workflows for judges, for law firms, and for parties themselves. And in Ed's example, he's asking a generalized question, but you can also ask more pointed questions through the docket research workflow, as we're seeing here. And the real power of this is that this is a task that was previously possible, but thoroughly unpleasant. And that's speaking as someone who oftentimes spent, 20 hours a week working with firms in their lit services or knowledge management departments to try to find these answers inside of the litigation data. In Docket Alarm, we're pretty speedily closing in on 1 billion dockets and documents at this point. So as you can imagine, it's quite a significant haystack to comb through to find the answer to any one given question. And as that question involves additional layers of complexity, that's the kind of thing that can be oftentimes hard, if not impossible, to encapsulate in a Boolean search query. So by adding the ability for an LLM to perform that kind of analysis across individual dockets, as Ed will walk through in this exact example here, we're really allowing these questions that were previously, if possible, extremely difficult to answer, to be answered in a much more expedited fashion, which really unlocks a significant degree of litigation insights that were previously inaccessible just due to the volume of data.
Awesome. Let me show next this new build an argument tool. So there used to be in the original version of Vincent something called build an argument that helps you make a point in law. You would find cases that stand for that proposition. That is now moved to what's it called, Alex? Explore
Legal propositions.
Explore legal proposition. Build an argument is different. You can explain in kind of a narrative way the facts of a case. And then list as goals like what you would like for Vincent to help you do. Create a client alert, write a memo, begin drafting some document or a letter or something with a pretty broad open-ended query. So here I'm describing the facts of a case, a criminal law case, but in a very granular way, like the way I might tell this to a paralegal, a research associate, someone else in my firm over lunch, right? I haven't distilled the legal principles out of it. I know what they are, but I haven't. I've just sort of described the facts. And then I've listed the goals. I've basically said I would like a memo under Indiana law. And what I'm doing here, I'm using actually a 2015 era American Association of Law Libraries Boolean legal research query, where they've already scored the answers. They know what the seminal case is. They know what the right answer is. And I want to see if this, I think, narrative description of the facts spots the right issues and gets the right answer. And in fact, it does. It crushes it. So you can see right away there is the prompt assist, which we launched in the autumn release, that says, I think this is the key issue that you're trying to address. Under Indiana law, a defendant can be charged with felony murder when a co-perpetrator, rather than a victim, is killed during the commission of a designated crime. A much more elegant way of stating the research question. Vincent distilled that from my narrative description. And then we get this memo. And the memo sort of does an introduction. It pulls out like the key facts, like what facts matter in this narrative description, and then what are the legal principles involved? What are we talking about here? And then finally, in law school, sometimes it's called IRAC, issue, rule, application, conclusion. We are applying the law in this case to the facts. You can see there all of the case law is hyperlinked. It's all listed here on the right-hand side. And then it creates alternative arguments. It talks about places where this analysis might be at risk. So it creates, some guardrails to make sure that you're not getting only what you want, we're trying to have Vincent not be a sycophant, and then a conclusion. So this is a tool, a research question that I've taught in law schools. I know that Vincent is getting this right, and very, very right. Like the leading case is Palmer versus State. It's an Indiana Supreme Court case from 1999. It is called out very prominently and hyperlinked, and you can see right away, that Palmer versus State is the key precedent in this area. Vincent really does a great job of pulling out the legal issues from like a kind of a narrative description.
Yeah. And what's really unique about this workflow is that this is a major step forward in making Vincent's output comply with your actual facts and scenarios. So, as Ed mentioned, this is kind of performing that IRAC time-tested procedure against the law where we're actually applying the law to the facts and circumstances of a case. And what's significant about that is when we were previously asking research questions in Vincent, there's a whole wealth of information that's left out of that sentence or two prompt that you're applying. I could be asking Vincent about one thing, but maybe there was a conversation I had with a client 6 months back that had a critical piece of information that I maybe hadn't factored into Vincent's research process, right? Maybe it was an oral contract rather than one that was written. So when I'm asking about it in this context now, I can provide that key factual background. So maybe if there's an exception or a extra avenue for Vincent to explore, it's now able to do that based on that valuable context that's hard to squeeze into a prompt box traditionally.
So thank you very much, Alex and Ed. That's really interesting. In terms of the LLMs that you're using, I can see, I can detect people asking the question, what generative AI are you using to operate this?
Yeah, so we use a hybrid model agnostic approach. So oftentimes in any given workflow, we'll utilize a combination of various models to accomplish the task. And we're balancing performance and speed here and making sure that we can slot in the latest and greatest so that, if maybe Grok unseats OpenAI or Claude, that we can continue offering that most performative model in an expedited fashion with the obvious data restrictions that we consider when implementing any model, being that we have to have a zero data retention agreement in place with that vendor. But to walk through a research question, that's going to start with a retrieval model that's largely designed in-house. And that's where Vincent will take that user's entry and convert that into a vector search and then begin analyzing results across the vLex library. From that point, we'll then use a separate model to perform the individual analysis of each case to ensure that it's relevant to the query that was asked. And then a more robust model still to then take that table of authorities that Vincent found and generate that final output. So there can be 2 to 3 implemented in any given workflow. And right now, we're mainly using OpenAI's models with some supplementation from Anthropic, but we have always been testing others as well, and will continue to implement new advancements when they're available and when they work with the zero data retention agreement.
Fantastic. Thanks, Alex. And just the very last thing, just to wrap up, is if people are looking at this and they're thinking, great, I would like these features, do they come automatically or is this an add-on?
Yeah, so current state, everything that is included in this release and has come before it is
Mm,
available for all of our subscribers. There are a few workflows that rely on external content sets and will require you to have a subscription to Vincent and that external provider in order for us to enable those. But largely speaking, we've been offering all the new workflows inside of Vincent just to existing subscribers as they are.
mm.
And I believe that's our plan to continue doing so for at least the near future.
Fantastic. Fantastic. Wow. So much, so much. Well, good work, guys. And more to come. This is just the winter release. If you're watching still, this is just the winter release. There is more to come.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
I
Keep us
there's
busy.
a we're showing only a handful of the different workflow tools. There are scores of them, as you can see, and more coming all the time.
Oh, actually, just one quick one just before I really must end there. Is the M&A due diligence, is that live now? Is that online? Is that working? It is. Fantastic.
It's currently a working build, but in a preview capacity. So we're able to enable it for customers that would like to explore it a little bit further, but aren't offering it for everyone just yet as we finish out the last bit of QA on that particular
Fantastic.
workflow.
Fantastic. Well, thanks again, Alex and Ed, and expect more from vLex. Thank you.